Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Hey, welcome to the third installment of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast live experience. This audio was pulled from the live recording on Monday, March 19th with Brock Hoyer. Brock, if you didn't already know this, was featured on episode 10 of the regular podcast, and we went into his background, got a lot about his story. But in this one, we talk specifically around dedication, and then towards the end, there's some Q&A. So go ahead, have a listen to it. Let me know your feedback. podcast@impactfuel.org. You can always send me your feedback that way. Otherwise, I would love it if you went onto the show on iTunes, left a rating and review. That would be phenomenal. Regardless of what podcast player you use, though, please subscribe. That way you don't miss these upcoming shows. If you want to experience the next live episode, go over to the Sponsored Rider Club Facebook page, click like or follow, and watch out for those notifications. Without further ado, we're going to hop in.
Oh, hello there, everyone. I just happened to be reading one of my favorite books here when you all decided to show up, check things out. Welcome, everybody. This is our third installment of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast live experience. So we've done a couple of these now, and we've had a few guests on. Travis Pointer kind of kicked this whole thing off with our first ever live episode. Then we had Thomas Affelt come on from Sledders R Us. And today we have another guest that's going to be joining us, and that is Brock Hoyer. Now, if you are thinking, I've heard that name before, it's true. He's an X Games medalist, one of the first ever in the snow bike world. So he is coming on to chat about dedication. Also, Brock was featured on episode 10 of this show way back in the day. So I'm going to release episode 67 tomorrow. So it's been a little while since we actually had Brock on here. So excited to dive in a little deeper. Just to give you all a little bit of a refresher on what this show is all about. It's trying to show you how to unlock the secrets to motorsports sponsorship. That's not always the easiest thing to do. That's why we get examples from people who have done it, whether it's a sponsor or a rider or a content creator. We try to get examples from them of how they've done this in their life. So it looks like we got a few people popping on right now. Ryan, what's up, man? Good to see you. I saw Travis joined as well. He's probably trying to watch to make sure that people don't show his episode up. It was a good one. There's Travis. Yep. Hey, raising your hand. What I want you to do, too, is if you're already on, I would love it if you could share this with someone else who you might think would be interested in the show. And let us also leave some comments on here, leave some questions. We're going to be going through at the end and doing some Q&A. So make sure that you leave questions throughout. Leave them anytime because I can always go back through, scroll, and find those questions once we get Brock on the call. If you have friends specifically that you want to invite, feel free to do that as well. Yeah, Ryan, shout out. That's right, buddy. That's right, man. So I do want to quick call attention to some of the things that, I really have heard positive feedback on this show for. So one is from the live experience, it does offer a little bit different, like a deeper dive perspective. So people have been pretty excited about that. And, from the whole show's perspective, the feedback has been that this is something that requires a different level of business knowledge that you just don't get when you go out and practice on the track. You need different examples and you need people to help show you that. So looks like we got Chris on here. Brock is on too. So in a minute, we'll actually bring him on the show. So also I wanted to ask people, what is your favorite episode? So of all the 67 episodes that are basically out there right now, which one has been your favorite? Go ahead and leave a comment. Travis, I think I know which one yours is going to be, but go ahead and just leave that in the comments as well because I want to hear that feedback. All right, so in a minute, I am going to be bringing Brock on here, and what we're going to do is talk about dedication and how that can help your motorsports marketing program, help your sponsorship program. It's a huge thing. We talk about it all the time on the podcast, but we've never really taken an entire episode and dedicated to that. So I'm going to actually add Brock on here so you guys can see him. And then conversation. Kevin, what's up? Jason, welcome to the show. Kevin, I also want to know what your favorite episode is, too. Hey!
What's up?
What's going on?
Oh, just traveling.
Oh, man, look at that in the trailer. Look at that.
Yeah. Pulled over on the side of the road, heading home, and make for the show.
That's awesome, man. Do you know what people call you? Do you know what one of your nicknames is in this world?
I don't know. I've got a couple. Hopefully it's a good one.
The nicest guy. You're known as like the nicest guy in the sport. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I kind of live by that. I come up in a pro motocross background, and when I was younger, I met a lot of guys I looked up to, right? And you go to these races, you want an autograph, or just take the time to say hi, to a kid.
Right.
I know what that feels like, and I had a couple guys that weren't. I don't have time for you, can't sign this, and that meant, that hurt. That didn't hurt, but it wasn't as good of a feeling as I want. So now I try to pay that back as much as I can. And I've always told myself whenever I don't have time for a kid to answer questions on social media or anything or in person, then I'm going to stop doing what I do in the sport.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I know I always take the time for my millions of fans to sign all of their autographs and return their mail. And by millions of fans, I mean, I think there might be one, because I think Travis I think is my fan. Yep. It actually looks like Travis has got a pretty popular episode here too. A couple people have said Travis is one of their favorite episodes. You know what my favorite episode of the show was though, Brock? Can you take a guess? It was yours, episode 10.
Yes.
Yes, it was so good. Travis's was okay, but like episode 43, I mean, wow. Like you got all this time to practice and learn about the show. You were one of the first people on, honestly.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's cool to be a part of it. It's just anything to do with kids, and I know it's a tough juggle, trying to juggle sponsorship and support, and I can't thank my guys enough that got me here, right? And I started just like anybody, from the bottom and got here, and so I understand how tough it is to push the right image to your sponsors, supporters, anybody that kind of helps you, and it's a lot of work. So it's just cool to be a part of it, and got to go on the first show after winning the first Gold X Games.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
That is so cool, so cool. You know who else I just interviewed the other day who had a snow bike medal in the recent X Games was Robert Haslam.
Nice.
Yeah, so his episode's coming out in a couple weeks now, but it was good too. So now I could say I've had two snow bike medalists on the show, which is exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, he did a good job. He rode hard, and he put a lot of dedication in. It was pretty cool, and it's cool to watch that.
Yeah.
So it was.
Well, let's get into the topic of this show. I've been super excited to talk about this. I think we may have touched on it back in episode 10 a little bit too, but dedication. So we hear on this show a lot, honestly, is that you have to keep going. You can't give up. When things get down, you just pick them back up again. So, I mean, what's your take on the whole thing of dedication?
Yeah, dedication. I think dedication has a little bit to do with heart, drive, where you came from, how hard it was to get where you got. Lots of people have it easier, and I wouldn't say they're more better off. I feel like I came from a family, single parent, when I started motocross, and, we barely had money to get to races. It was a struggle all the time. My family, my mom's side of my family, put a lot of effort into my program back in the day and helps pave the way. Everything in racing is a stepping stone. You have ups and you have lots of downs and lots of ups. And I believe that your grassroots is kind of who builds you what to affect. But I remember having next to nothing, holey pants, borrowed stuff, mismatched pants with not matching jerseys. And the dedication part was part of that heart and that drive. And it didn't matter what, I had. It was the joy of the sport. I think the dedication of putting it all down, and now at a higher level, you've got to dedicate a lot more of your time, a lot less family time because you're always on the road or traveling or training or riding or racing. So yeah, dedication's huge. If you can't dedicate and take the time to learn it, and really put your full potential to it, it's pretty hard to succeed at a high level.
Mm-hmm. You know, one example of dedication is honestly, like, you're traveling right now. You did not have to do this, right? But,
Yeah.
you know, you pulled over on the side of the freeway or wherever you're at right now. And
there's not much snow out here right now. So I'm kind of mean, but
hey, that looks like, are you in Michigan? That looks like the Michigan snow season right there. I called it dirtmobiling this year, but.
No, I'm just coming back from Revelstoke. We were out with a snow bike filming, and I'm just heading back to Williams Lake. I get a day off. I just sent my race bike down to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I fly out Wednesday morning to Jackson Hole Hill Climbs.
Sounds good. So one thing that I'm always curious about from the dedication standpoint, and I asked this in the episode a lot, is like, what happens when you encounter a big obstacle or when something doesn't go the way you expected? I mean, is there something where you can remember an example of that? Or, I mean, what did you do when you ran into a situation like that?
Oh, I've had lots of challenges like that. Trying to look for that big word, but, you know, that's research. Well, I can't think of that kind of stuff. But, you know, even X Games this year going down, getting ready and trying to get my race bike back, and it didn't make it in time. We couldn't skip it out in time, so we persevere. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, persevere. And, that's the big word.
We head down. We had a dealer. We just make some calls. People juggle. It's amazing to support just people. And I guess, just me, my mentality, just trying to be as friendly as possible. And you meet these people along the road. And I've always believed by it's not who you are, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just you could be the best athlete in the world, but if you don't know those right people to help you along those ways for those decisions that you have to make and those obstacles you have to, you know, it's just like a job. You know, being a boss, you have all the weight on your shoulders, but you learn to delegate and try to help people take the weight off your shoulders and make those decisions when you need to. And, you know, we had lots of obstacles like that coming into this series and this season. And, you know, you put your head down, right? It's stressful, but it's the dedication side of it. You love it. You know, end of the day, you're going to make do. It's what's best. And, you know, hopefully all your stuff shows up and works good.
No, it's good. Speaking of people you know, my cousin Bertina just joined. That's exciting. Hey, Bertina, how's it going? Pretty excited about that. You know, that's another important thing, to surround yourself with family that supports you. So it's good stuff. I'm just going through some of the comments here. I just want to remind people. So I've been seeing a lot of the comments just now of like some of their favorite episodes, and looks like we got some Brock Hoyer fans, obviously. We got Travis fans in here, Joe Sylvester, Bob Luketic. So good stuff. So if people are ready now, go ahead and start leaving some comments around just questions. If you have random questions for me, random questions for Brock, in a minute here after we kind of finish up this topic, we will go through and answer some of those questions too. So feel free to start typing those in, and we'll touch on those in a minute. So Brock, I'm thinking too of the dedication standpoint is like just the pure timing. Like look at that. TJ Nielsen, yep, Brock Hoyer, my hero. So from a pure timing perspective, I hear sometimes people say, I started on a sponsorship journey and it took me 6 months, a year, 2 years to actually make a connection and turn it into a real relationship. What about that? How does the whole timing factor play into dedication?
Well, and it goes all too by the first thing before you ask a sponsor, you know, everyone's, if you're getting sponsored by a pizzeria for fuel money or whatever, help you buy grips or get sponsored by a grip company, you know, all those come into effect is not what the sponsor is going to do for you, but also what you're going to do for the sponsor. Mm-hmm. So in retail of advertisement or doing good things, you know, like an example, we do stuff at the dealership, right? I go out ride for my dealer. But then also I bring my bike in, we do autographs or just help out around the shop, answer questions about bikes or brands or gear or just anything you can do in a positive effect towards those relationships. And yeah, sometimes they take time. I've had sponsors, actually, just like snow biking, right? No one knew me when I first started. I bought my first timber sled kit, put it all on my Visa. I had one of my best buddies, Derek Christian, rest in peace. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he's my inspiration. And that's another person of dedication is he got me into the sport and so he let me ride the first one ever, and I was hooked. Put it on my Visa. You know, timber sled guys didn't know who I was. And for the first couple of years, it took a long time, that relationship, just like you said. You got to pick away at it. You got to persevere, keep pushing through it, showing them who you are, what you can do, the positive effects you can put on other racers, riders, and the sport. And the biggest thing that I feel that you see is, and then eventually after a couple of years, I was getting a little bit of support. I was getting helped with kits. So it doesn't matter if it's just for a little bit of sponsorship or if it's a lot of sponsorship. I think the biggest thing is the dedication is showing your best side. And I always believed in one philosophy, and this is a Ricky Carmichael motocross philosophy, is you surround yourself with good people and good things happen.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of how I try to live my life now. So
that's awesome. That's actually a similar phrase to Henry Ford. I'm going to go way off topic for a minute here, but I just got to pull out my Henry Ford example here. So back in the day, he was actually put on trial because people said that he was not competent enough to run his company. Essentially, he had maybe an 8th grade education. He didn't have the skills required to run the company. They were trying to oust him. And while he was on trial, they were asking him all these like trivia style questions. And he basically said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. And at the end, they said, well, you don't know any of these things. You're obviously not competent. He said, no, I've surrounded myself with people that know these things. So why would I need to? And everybody just kind of, their jaws dropped, and he won the trial. Obviously, he got to keep his company at that point. But that kind of plays into the thing that you just said there, too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And I believe, I've seen it a long time. I've seen it a lot of the time. You get racers that are just so talented. They're so fast. They're unbelievable. And, but they have kind of a bad attitude. It's hard for them to get support. And I believe that, and a lot of my racing, I'm never, back in pro moto, I might not have been all the time winning championships and taking my bike to the box, but I always had a smile on my face, or I tried to at least on the bad days. And I feel like that's how I've made my stepping stones. And back to that whole topic is that you step along in different paths. Some are up, some are down. And I've came down a couple forks in my road where I almost stopped racing. Just, it's timing. You get burnt out. I started racing in really late, so I don't feel that now. But you see kids get burnt out, and that's one thing you don't want to do. But yeah, for that whole philosophy, it's you just, the biggest thing, you nailed it, you hit it right on the nail on the head. Dedication.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's see a couple questions here. There's a few that's been flowing in. My favorite one so far, though, is from Austin Looning. Hey, Brock, who's your brother from another mother? He answered it for you, Austin Looning. Perfect. That's a good question. Tyler Collett said, are you running a sled and a bike at Jackson? Question?
Yeah, just a snow bike.
Okay, so just a snow bike. There you go, Tyler. You got your answer there.
My the trailer, so I can have proof that it is still there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So Ryan Ruth had a question here. I'm trying to find it again. Most helpful sponsorship. So what do you think about that? Most helpful sponsorship.
Most helpful sponsorships, and there's lots of it. And, we have days, right? We break stuff. The biggest thing is you try not to, even if it is the product you're running breaks, you never want to show that to anybody. You go in talk about it, and you got to kick a jerry can as long as no one sees. That's kind of, you put it out of your way. But the most helpful sponsors I've had back when I first started, actually two guys, Jeremy Russell and Trevor Cons, back when I first started racing. They were two loggers. But I worked at a heavy-duty shop. I worked on their logging trucks. I was 15. And back in my amateur day, they stepped up. They helped pay for my fuel. So it doesn't have to be a big-name sponsor. It doesn't have to be Cal Tire. It doesn't have to be Yamaha, Rockstar when you're first out. It can be as simple as two guys like them that put their trust in. They took me to races. They connected their trucks. Like, being a kid, that's a huge, so, and they were just two normal trucker dudes that were awesome guys and saw something in me that, that I guess people see in people that they believe in, right? So, it can be anyone. It's just how you, and a lot of it can be people, right? And it might just not come from anything. You don't even know them. They approach you. They like what you are or what they've heard of you, because it seems like and it sucks in the way we race and stuff is more people hear about the bad things than they do about the good things. So
yeah.
The more good things you do, the more people will hear. But they do one bad thing, everyone hears that, right? So that's how I've always tried to persona that, as you always do good things. And like that happened in that situation with those two truckers. And there's been lots of other times like that, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head of the situation.
Yeah.
They came up to me and they wanted to help me. I didn't ask for it. They liked what I did. They liked hanging out with me at the races. They liked supporting me, and they liked being a part of my program. So
sounds great. So Brock, I saw another question from Travis Pointer. Don't know if you want to answer this or not, but who's your rock star contact? And he's got some cry marks next to it.
I don't ride Rockstar. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what's this whole Rockstar thing? Is this?
What's the star? It's the sun. This is the sun. Yeah, and they've been a great part, in my program. Everyone, Yamaha, Rockstar, Timbersled, Fox, FXR, all my big guys that have stood behind me, and a lot of them have been with me for a long time, and a lot of them haven't been with me for a long time. But you grow that communication, right? Like I just signed on with ODI Grips. We're very new in the sponsorship. We're learning, and I still have to prove, just because I'm a rider for them and I signed that contract and I'm running for them. You still have to keep positively pursuing that and pushing forward and doing good things, because next year could come and be like, well, you didn't do anything. We're not going to give you support. So it's an ongoing working relationship. There's sponsors now that I talk to, and even, it all builds up to being older, is a lot of the contacts you have, it's handshakes. Just because they learn who you are, they trust you, and I'm the kind of guy, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, unless something unperceivable happens, but I'm going to make sure I get there and I do what I say I'm going to do, because I treat them like friendships, not sponsorships.
Well, I don't know if there's any other questions real quick, but otherwise, I think we're going to start closing things out. So, Brock, I don't know, do you have any last-minute tips or advice that you kind of want to leave the group with?
Yeah, I would just say, try to be yourself. Always show a good step forward towards anybody, and it just goes in public. Like right now, I'm at a pullover in the highway. You might meet someone. It's just a lot of it's just chance. Someone's here, has a flat tire. By chance, you give them a hand to change the tire. That could be the Cal Tire CEO of Canada, right? You just never know. So I always believe in paying it forward. You pick up a piece of trash, there won't be any trash on your yard, kind of thing. It's all dominoes like that. So I'd say anything, kids, friends, adults. You go in a shop, you talk good about them. If you're gonna start trash talking a sponsor or anything like that, a lot harder for you, even if it's not one of the sponsors you want to get at. A lot of people hear that, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd own my own trailer, let alone, and be doing the things I do, right? I couldn't see that. I knew I was going to be a racer, but I had a lot of great people from my family, friends, and from my hometown that believed in me. And I'd say it's perseverance. You just got to work through it, put a smile on every day on the rainy days, and good things will happen, and do positive things for other people, and you'll get positive things back.
Sounds great. Well, Brock, I really appreciate you pulling over on the side of the road to do this interview. That's dedication. But at this point, I'm going to let you get on your way, and we're going to close things out. So have fun and ride safe.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. I hope you're getting value out of this live experience. Give me some feedback. I want to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and shoot me a note, podcast@impactfuel.org, or head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review. That's awesome for the show, and it's awesome for me. I read those reviews as part of the standard podcast, so if you do that, your review is going to get read over the podcast. That's, of course, assuming that it's actually kid-friendly, because if you leave some crazy stuff in there, probably not going to read that. Just going to be honest. But that's it. I really enjoy spending this time with you, and I hope that you're getting value, and I look forward to serving you again next time. Have fun and ride safe.